Welcome to the Socialette podcast, where we empower you with the marketing know-how you need to create the business of your dreams. I'm your host, Steph Taylor, and I'm a marketing nerd, Shiraz lover, and passport stamp collector. Join me as I dive into all things small business marketing and deliver them to you in bite-sized, fluff-free lessons every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Let's get learning. Hey, welcome back to Socialette. This is episode 95. And today I'm going to admit that I kind of got my days muddled up and forgot that today's episode was a Friday episode, that it was meant to be a listener Q&A. So I don't actually have a listener Q&A episode prepared for you. Sorry. Anyway, I promise today's episode will be just as good. And if you have a listener Q&A question, a listener question that I haven't answered or that you want me to answer, please feel free to DM me on Instagram at wearewildbloom or at stephtaylor.co. All right, today's episode, we're looking at some of the tougher parts of owning a business. If you look at the hashtag laptop lifestyle on Instagram, you'd be forgiven for thinking that running a business is anything but poolside cocktails and sunsets. And sure, maybe this is your goal for one day, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But in the early days of business, it's going to be the complete opposite of poolside cocktails and sunsets, which is pretty much long hours and lots of time spent behind your computer. This episode's not designed to scare you off if you haven't started your business yet. It's simply to help you realize that you're not alone, and it's to help you keep going if you're going through any of these at the moment. Okay, so the first tough part, when you get bad feedback. Maybe this will be a bad review or a grumpy customer or even a comment from a well-intentioned friend or family member. When you're a one-man band, it's pretty hard not to take all feedback personally. I mean, you are the one who built your business, so it's pretty much an extension of yourself. There will always be people out there who don't like what you're doing. There will always be customers or clients who you go over and above to please and who will still never be happy. And it's going to feel horrible. But if it's relevant, then use it as an improvement point. And if it's irrelevant, then just ignore it. Move on from it. The second tough part, when you run out of cash. I'm pretty sure that cash flow is the number one reason that small businesses fail. You might be turning a profit and you think everything's fine and dandy, but cash flow is what really matters. Just because your business is profitable doesn't mean there will always be cash in the bank. I'd love to give you a solution to this one, but I'm still working it out myself. Try to keep a little bit of cash aside for rainy days and tax bills, because trust me, you will need it. Number 3, when you feel like you have no support crew. Running a business by yourself is probably one of the most lonely and isolating things ever. It's a huge part of the reason why I left London to come back to Australia, and it's also why I came up with the idea for the Socialette Elite virtual co-working space. I know that most people in the early stages of business can't afford to pay a few hundred each month for a desk, and I know that it can be hard to find business friends. So the virtual co-working space, I launched it a few weeks ago, and I'm just so stoked to see that people are already making friends and helping each other out as if it were a real co-working space. Doors are currently closed at the moment, but I'll be reopening them around mid-December for a week or so. So make sure you get on the wait list so you don't miss that. You can get on the wait list at stephtaylor.co/elite. Number 4, when you just want to go back to a real job. So about a year ago, I was dealing with one particularly demanding client while I was traveling, and it just wore me down, to the point where I nearly gave up on this whole business thing. I even applied for a job, got an interview, and was all ready to move to Sydney if I got the job. And fortunately for me, I think that they could see I wasn't really that keen on working for someone else again, and I didn't get the job. Or right now, you would not be listening to this podcast. The point is that at least once a week, I feel like throwing in the towel, and I feel like going back to a stable day job where I can clock off at 5 and not have any responsibilities or worries or any of that stuff. And, those magical things called public holidays and annual leave and sick leave. Remember those? Number 5, when you're working big hours and everyone else seems to be on holiday. Remember this. Social media is the highlight reel of people's lives. If you took one look at my travel Instagram account, you'd be forgiven for thinking that my life consists of island hopping in Greece, sipping rosé by the sea, and, eating delicious Italian food. That stuff is maybe 1% of my life. I took a bunch of photos while I was traveling, and that is now my content for the rest of the year. So half the time when I'm posting a beautiful photo in Italy, it's actually 6 a.m. and I'm sitting at my desk working. And then lastly, number 6, when you stuff up. Spoiler alert, you're human. You're going to make mistakes. Some of them will be easily fixable. Others will keep you awake at night and you'll feel like you just can't fix them. Like there's no light at the end of the tunnel. It will be fine. There's nothing wrong with making those mistakes as long as you learn for them and put something into place to stop them from happening again. That's it for today's episode. Sorry that it wasn't a listener Q&A episode, but please feel free to send me your questions. I have a couple lined up for the next few weeks, so I'm quite excited to get in and answer those. Don't forget to get on the waitlist for Socialette Elite when it reopens in December. You can sign up at stephtaylor.co/elite. That's ELITE. If you haven't subscribed to the show yet, make sure you do so. I believe that subscribers actually get the episodes about half a day earlier than non-subscribers. So make sure you hit subscribe or follow if you're listening in Spotify. And if you have 2 seconds to spare, I'd love it if you could please give me a rating and a review on iTunes and Apple Podcasts. Thanks so much for listening. Catch you next time.